Hello! It is, in fact, at the time of recording, January 2026, and I'll bet you need a distraction. So welcome to the first tips, tricks, and tutorials video of the year. And today, we're going to do something that I've been planning on doing for a while, but I have a new technique, and it's more of an update for a previous technique that I have shown on stream a few times. So, if you are an experienced builder or have built a few puppets already and you are using, there's two basic techniques for taking a puppet skull, for example. Let's go to the overhead camera because this camera is just terrible lighting adjustment. So let's just do this so you don't have to deal with that. Here we have a puppet skull. And here we have a puppet skin. In this case, it's fleece, could be fur, doesn't really matter. There's two ways that you can put a covering on a foam interior structure like a skull, for example. In the case of a skull, the two techniques are the one that I call the Kreutinger method, because I learned this from the late, great Adam Kreutinger, rest in peace, aka Puppet Nerd. And that is that you make the skin and then you sew in the fabric mouth plate and you finish the skull. So, for example, you do it like this, where you have the mouth plates glued in and then you glue mouth plate to mouth plate and then you turn this right side out and you wrap it around that way, and that works great. The other way is to fully finish the mouth plate, including the lining, and then you wrap the skin around it and you glue it down edge by edge. BJ Geyer teaches that method, and I believe that is the method that is more preferred among professionals. My problem is I'm really bad at it, and it takes a lot of practice to get it right. So, the Kreutinger method, as it were, is a bit more forgiving for beginners. However, it does have one big problem, and that problem is aligning things, because these are soft materials. They will stretch, they will compress, and getting the lip alignment, as it were, right, so that the lip is consistent, and what the diameter of the lip is, it's consistent all the way around, so you're not too far down, too far up, too far left, too far right, whatever that is. And also because if your top and bottom jaw are separate pieces, it can do this, it can move all over the place and really throw off your alignment. And that's something that I have struggled with quite a lot, to the extent that you would normally glue this together with a slight wet fit, where you would not let the glue dry all the way, so you can pull it apart and reposition if you need to realign things if it goes wrong, which it can and often does. So I got tired of doing that. So I started playing around, and I've come up with a technique that compensates for almost all of that, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. And the nice part is it's basically the same exact way, but we just do things in a different order, right? We do not glue the mouth plate into the skull first. We glue the fabric skin to the separate mouth plate first. Then, once this is all glued together, then we glue the skull to the mouth plate. And what that does is allows us to position very accurately, and as long as, like, it also helps if you mark things, but this will allow us to position each individual mouth plate far more precisely than trying to finagle it when you've got a whole skull together, right? So that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to show today. Now, the thing about this is that a lot of it, almost all of it, is just gluing stuff, which means I'm going to have the mask on, which means that you may have a bit of trouble understanding what I'm saying. Even though my mask is mic'd, it's still kind of muffled and stuff. So let me explain now what I'm going to be doing, and then I'll do it and talk about it as I do it. So, like I just said, the first thing we're going to do is glue the separate mouth plates to the fleece skin. Then we're going to glue the skull to the mouth plates. That's really the summary. That is the order in which we do things. Now, you may note this strip of red here. What's that all about? This mouth plate, and this kind of depends on what material you've made your fabric mouth plate out of. In this case, it is felt, which I know I've railed about before, but I do occasionally I will use, and I know a lot of people do use, a nice stiff felt for the interior mouth plate, just because it doesn't wrinkle in it. It sits nicely, and it's fine for that. But the problem with felt, among the problems with felt, is that over time it can wear, and it can get, it can split, and it can just tear apart. Don't want that, obviously. And at the hinge of the mouth plate is where you are going to get the wear. So what we want to do, and BJ Geyer demonstrates this in another context, is we want to basically build a hinge, a nice robust hinge on the mouth plate. Now, the way that's normally done is you build the hinge with whatever materials. I know the BJ Geyer likes to use leather quite a lot, but you would build a hinge, glue that in, and then make the hinge first and glue the mouth plates together, and then do whatever it is you're going to do, put them in the skull or whatever. But since we're doing this in a different order, we have to do the hinge in a different order. So what I do, and it again results in the same exact construction, you're just doing everything slightly in a different order. So I glue a strip of, in this case, it's Ultra Suede. Ultra Suede is a really good fabric to use to make a hinge. It's basically a form of artificial leather, but it's very, very robust and very strong. And you can't tear it. Well, I guess you could if you have enough strength, but it's very difficult to tear. It's not going to wear down. It's very, very strong and robust. So this is a very good material to make a hinge out of. So what I do is I glue it one layer in first, then we're going to glue the mouth plates to that. Then once the mouth plates are in, we're going to glue another strip of Ultra Suede over top and collect that all together, and then that sandwich of materials will be our hinge, and it will be nice and strong, and you're not going to have to worry about it. So just to get the ball rolling, I have glued this in here, and also make sure you mark your center points and all that kind of stuff, because that is going to be very helpful when it comes to aligning your mouth plates. And you'll also notice I have already marked on the mouth plate both sides where our kind of boundaries are, right? So I know going in exactly where I'm going to place that, because I have both my center points and my left and right upper bounds marked. So that way we're going to assure and just align your center point, and we will get this nice and even all the way around both the top and bottom jaw separately. That is another factor, because sometimes, these are soft materials, maybe your center point has drifted a little bit. The top and bottom might not be perfectly aligned, right? This way, the lip line will be, even if your actual hinge point is not a perfect line. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we can just get on with it now, I think. We are ready to go. Let me think if there's anything else I haven't covered. I don't think so. Let me grab one more throat lozenge before I put the mask on. Important. And we will go. I have the window open. And you know what I need to do? It's getting cold in here. It's Canada in the winter, so it's cold. I'm going to put a little sweater on before we do this, because it's getting a bit chilly in here. So, I don't know. Frank, you leave this in or edit it out. I don't care. All right, here we go. My Mr. Rogers sweater, right? This is actually cashmere. My spouse gave this to me It was either a Christmas or a birthday present or something. And yeah, it's very nice. It's very, very warm, but also very, very thin. So it's helpful for this kind of situation where you're in Canada and a puppet builder and winter, and you still have to have the window open. So this will help compensate for that. I can just go forward and get the mask on. So let me do that. The mic is going to get weird for a second. Frankie, if you want to edit this part to not have the sound blow out. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we go. So, of course, we are going to put gloves on as well because we are dealing with the danger honey. So the first thing we're going to do is glue the mouth plate to the fabric mouth plate. Top or bottom first, doesn't really matter, as long as you've marked it out. Okay. So, I'm going to start with the rigid mouth plate. A nice light thin coat. You don't want to go too heavy on this. A little bit will do ya. There we go. And likewise, very, very light, very, very thin. Make sure you get the edges. Like so. I always start with the edges and then I work my way inward. In this case, I'm going to do the top, then the bottom, and I will do them separately, just so I can go slow and you can see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to use the hairdryer to dry this off. It's better if you just let it air dry, but for the sake of shooting the video, I'm going to use the hairdryer a little bit. Okay, so now that we're here, this is where all of the marks that you made come in very handy, because we know where the base is, we know where the center is, and we know where the left and right is. So we can just lay that in place like so. This one's being a little stubborn. I think I'm going to get my hand inside there. And this is the nice thing about contact cement. If you have to pull it apart and do it again, you can. And there we go. I can feel inside that there's no wrinkles. But as you can see, now we can see all the way around here. We're nice and even. That's the goal. That's what we want. So now we're just going to press that in place, and there we are. And now we just do the same thing on the bottom. I find it's easier if I actually put a hand inside and kind of help it. It's also hard to keep this on camera. I usually do it kind of like this, but because I'm on camera, I want to try and keep it so you can see what I'm doing. But as an extra layer of challenge to what I'm doing, you, I assume, won't face that. All right, there we go. That looks pretty good. And just like before, we'll get the hairdryer. And just like before, so I know this is off camera. It's important to try to not touch the wet glue. Okay. And the nice part is I can sort of see on the other side where I've made those tracings. So we can place it in. Now this is what I'm talking about. See how uneven that looks? Don't worry about that. That'll work itself out. Because you have to remember, the way that the mouth closes is this way. So this is actually your hinge. So as long as this is a bit crooked, this isn't too bad. If you've got a really, really big crooked gap, you're going to want to fix that. But in this case, we're okay. So as you can see, all around the edge here, that's even, and on the bottom, that's all nice and even. That's what we want. So now what we're going to do is we're going to complete the hinge by gluing in another strip of Ultra Suede. And what we want to do is get this as close as possible, because we're going to want to kind of close it. We're going to want to put it on the top, then the middle, then the bottom. If you get a slightly wider, this isn't quite wide enough, it'll be fine for this, but wider will just make it easier. And I usually don't measure this. I just kind of go with the vibes. A little fraying here. So I'm putting glue on the top, just around the edge. And I'm folding it, putting it in the middle. Then on the bottom, Once again, we're going to hit it with a hairdryer. So, like I said, we're going to start on the top. Just lay this across, like so. And we're going to close it. You have to close it all the way, just a bit. Across the middle, and then fold it over and do the bottom. And when you're done, what you should see is like a crease. Let me show you this real close. See it? Sorry about this. It's hard to do this in the beer review. So see this? See this bend, this sort of crease here where it folds? That's what you want. That's correct. Okay, so now that we've got that, the autofocus, there we go. Now, all we have to do is glue the skull to the mouth plate. And that's pretty much straightforward. You can do top and bottom at the same time. I usually do, but we're going to glue it in like so. And then after you're here, well, that's going to look familiar if you've done this before. And that's when we just turn it. So I'm going to put some glue around the edges, and make sure you do it on the right side, depending on how you're doing your skull, because some skulls have an inner lip, some they don't. But in this case, we want to glue it in like that, so we're going to want to put the glue on the inside. And that's going to be the case most of the time. So we're just going to put a thin rim of glue along the edge here. Am I on camera, more or less? More or less. There we go. And this you want to get pretty dry. You want this to really, really hold. This has to be quite strong. In fact, if you want to put more than one coat on, that would be good. This is where it matters. Like so, making sure we don't touch the wet glue. And now we're going to put our glue on the skull. Like so. You want good coverage. It's still a thin, even coat, but you want to make sure you get it everywhere along this edge. Okay. Now we're going to hit this with a hairdryer, and we're going to do it for a fairly decent amount of time because we want this almost completely dry. Yeah, that seems good. Okay, so the order that you do this in doesn't really matter. Usually what I do is I'll do it at the center point on the bottom jaw, then the center point on the top jaw, and we get it sort of packed in like that. And then I'll start going around and slowly positioning it, and I don't press it in. I make it so I can sort of lift it off and reposition if I need to. But it kind of just wants to naturally sit in there. And when you've got it positioned, that's when you can go around and really lock it into place. All right, there we are. So, that's effectively it. We'll do the big reveal. I'll take the mask off for the big reveal. Hopefully this works out. It should do. Okay, so there we go. And there's what you end up with is exactly the old style technique, right? You've got the skin glued to the mouth, inside out, mouth to mouth, make them kiss. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna take the mask off. So I'm gonna mute the mic. It is time for the big turn. So once you've got it like this, and you can see how nice and even that is all the way around. So now when we turn it, and the secret I have found of turning, not really a secret, but it's just, don't be too aggressive. Just go nice and gentle. It's going to be all folded up and weird at first. Work it through slowly. Don't be in a rush. So you're going to turn it and it's going to be all like weird and mangled up like this, right? That's okay. That's all right. Gently pull it down. Gently, gently, gently. You pull it too hard, you can pop stitches, you can tear it, you can do all kinds of nasty things. This way, we just want to slowly work it little bit by little bit. There we go. And sometimes you may have to go in and just kind of like fiddle and smooth things out. That's fine. That's just the way it goes. No good puppet was ever made in a hurry. Here we go. And as you can see, you gotta smooth this out a little bit up here. Got a little bit of where the dart is. That's okay. We'll smooth it out. But yeah, there we are. Look at that. Lovely. And nice, even lip line all the way around. Pretty good, huh? This isn't even with my right puppeting hand. So, let's go to the extremely blown out camera. So you can definitely not see it. But there we are. There is our nice aligning the mouth plate evenly technique. And you can see just how perfect that ends up. And that's all it is just doing things in a slightly different order. But it's the same technique as before. And we've got a nice, robust, this could be me. Am I making me? No, I'm not making me. But, so there we go. That will do it for this tips, tricks, and tutorials video. So I hope this has been of use. Like and subscribe and all those silly YouTube things. OperationPuppet.com for all of the links. And we'll catch you in the next one.